All right, we're live on the season finale of Season 1 for Sorare MLB. Super hyped. It is the 24th episode. I'm Eric. This is Nate. To start off the episode, I just wanted to give a big thank you to every single one of you out there who's made the season so incredible. 24 episodes over the span of the year is a really nice body of work. We're excited to get on here as much as possible, man. And to everybody who jumped on and watched one of these streams or watched it afterwards, threw us a like, chatted up in the chats, joined the Discord. The quality of the interaction has just been absolutely amazing. Good vibes. And a special shout out, of course, to my co-host here, Nate. Big thank you, man, for all the work that you've done onto this show for the whole entire season. Couldn't have done it without you, man. It's been incredible. Even more so than I could have expected going into this, man. So it's excited to wrap up this season and so excited for next season. Also, we got a ton of good stuff today. I'll stop ranting here with the last two thank yous, of course, that I want to throw out are to my wife for giving me the Sundays to do the show. And then also, of course, is So Rare for just putting out an incredible product for us to talk about, man. Based on last season, a few expectations. I think for me, they blow past the expectations of what we saw this first season. And it's the true first season of Sorare MLB. So excited for what's to come in the future. I will digress. Nate, what's up, man?
Well, man. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. Appreciate you bringing me into the fold here. It's been a blast kind of learning this game 1 week at a time. And like you said, the community in your Discord, the conversation that we have on week-to-week basis about lineup decisions and showing off prizes. And it's a fun community. It's no secret that I've loved learning how to play Sorare MLB. I'm a huge fantasy baseball guy, huge fantasy sports guy, and this has just been a real fun season. So looking forward to looking back at what we each did this year. We've got some graphics to show kind of like what our top finishes were, what our overall performance was for the year. Relatively surface level, but I think a good snapshot of what we did in this game this year. And man, I'm looking forward to hitting the ground running next year.
It's been super fun going back through, putting together our results. Sorare's made some cool updates to, like your club portal. Mm-hmm. But what you did is so much more in detail as to kind of going in and doing it manually and pulling out some really cool stats. So I'm super excited to look at that today. I definitely, going through it was a really cool reflection because I have some good takes on what the numbers are going to kind of tell the story of. So I'm excited to hear your end on that too. But man, I think we could dive into it here and just kind of talk about some of the highlights of the season, man. We're sitting here, 2 games into the World Series with the Diamondbacks and the Rangers in the World Series, man. A little bit different than our preseason predictions here, but it's been a hell of a season, man. It's been so much fun to watch, and this whole entire playoff run has been incredible too, including the championship chase that Sorare put on. So,
yeah, I don't know, great playoffs. Been enjoying watching the playoffs all the way through. I've had an added interest on Texas all year. I've been stacking them all year, so that has made it fun. And Adolis Garcia catapulted me into the podium for the All-Star Championship chase on the limited side of things. So been enjoying it, but I will say, not a fan of the 12-team format. I don't know how we either play 162 games and have a small playoff format, or we shorten the season and have playoffs. I just feel like we've come so far away from why we play a long regular season. And then when we have half the teams make the playoffs, it's kind of like, what the hell was the point? So that's my stance on that. I'll spare everyone a long rant, but I don't understand how we're putting 12 teams in the playoffs out of 30 when we've played 162 games to determine who the best teams are. It's crazy to me.
Interesting take, man. That's your thought. I won't debate you too much on it because it's here nor there. But man, I think it's been a ton of fun. And when it comes down to the margins being so thin in that wild card, man, there was wild card chases all the way to the 162nd game, man. I think I saw a clip on John Boy or something like that, where if Seiya Suzuki catches a fly ball in the outfield, the Diamondbacks don't even go through, right?
That.
After that entire incredible season, that long run, amazing. I don't know, man. It's been super fun. And it's just crazy that some of these top teams aren't in there, but it shows you how important, momentum is going into the playoffs. And I mean, look, there's players just step up, man. It's been exciting, man. So I have no complaints on my end.
It's not that I don't think it hasn't been entertaining. It's been great. I'm not hating on the Diamondbacks for getting this far. Like, it's been fun to watch them. It's just that I don't understand why we're playing 162 games if this is the format. That's my only stance on that. But let's go back to Sorare here.
Let's do it, man. Championship chase. Okay, let's dive in, man. We could take a look at some graphics, but just to kind of lay out where you and I are at with this thing, you're on the podium right now.
Yeah.
Limited All-Star. You're in third place. DJ Local, shout out DJ Local. He is right ahead of you, about 6 points, and you guys have a chance to catch 1 and 2. Clamp, another friend of the show, is right on your tail with a little disparity to go. But your thoughts on how they put together the championship format, because I absolutely love it.
Yeah, man, it's been fantastic. I wish that I had made a couple different plays early on, but the format it's really exciting because it's really flushing out who is consistently performing week over week. I've already said to you, I think that this type of format could have a place in the regular season next year, maybe a monthly contest and maybe a single year-long contest would be a lot of fun. It's for me, I was kind of playing 2 lineups, 1 in pro, 1 in all-star in the first couple weeks. After 2 weeks, I saw myself kind of in the thick of it with all-star, and I started putting my priority lineup in there. But yeah, it was, like they said, championship chase. It's a fun thing to chase. It week over week, the format in Sorare is fun because you get to just roll over to a new lineup. If last week didn't go so hot, fine. But I think having this as that added layer on top of it is a ton of fun, and it's been a lot of fun to track. And yeah, I mean, I'm not in contention in pro, but I am in all-star. I am in common all-star. And it's cool to see where you stack up over a longer period of time.
100%, man. It's definitely more strategic also. I mean, you can play the long game here. It's allowed me to be more strategic in limited pro as well, because I'm in 16th place in limited pro. And my whole strategy kind of going into the week was, okay, let's do a little bit more conservative of a lineup, right? I did a relief pitcher and a closer. So Seawald and Ginkel to go in and just bank on them having a lot of appearances in this, hopefully a 7-game series over a bat. So I went about it that way. The hold and the save combo was something that really helped me out get to where I am in the limited pro competition when I hammered Presley and Brian Abreu back to back for probably 3 weeks in a row. So that was, something that I'm going to keep in mind for next year too, but not all, regular season baseball is going to pan out like the playoffs are. So that's something to know too. I will say this. I want to see Diop in the chat. Drop down in the chat, guys. If you're in here, if you got a chance at the championship chase, let us know how you're doing because we want to know for sure. But Nate, I wanted to mention to you too, you'd be probably happy to hear that Sorare MLB about 2 days ago launched a season-long contest. So nice. If that's anything to foreshadow into next year, man, we have a lot of stuff to be excited about.
Very nice. Yeah. I think that we talked a few weeks ago about how I was kind of just clicking around in the Sorare football section of the website, and it definitely got me excited about what we have to come with MLB. It's clear that MLB is it's the little brother product here, and not to say that they haven't done a good job with it, but you can see what they've done by investing resources into their football game, and we know what some of those cards are selling for. To think that MLB is going to be anywhere near that in the next couple of years is probably fool's gold. But to know that we have a fun community playing this game we're continuing to see, like you said, we've gotten facelifts on the website, on the My Club, the way that the things are being presented here. And yeah, these additional contests, and it's all just progress in the right direction. We continue to just have a little update every few weeks. What wasn't thinking about it, wasn't asking for it, but they keep just kind of one thing after the other, and it's good to see. It's good to see things moving in that direction. And yeah, that's exciting. The prospect of a season-long contest next year.
I got a bold prediction that I'm typing into the chat right now. Nate, it has to do with you. So give me 2 seconds to type this out.
Okay. If you want to kick me over the screen share while you do that, I'll walk through the championship chase here.
All right. Here we go. All right. Hold on 1 second. Let me remove this and put my bold prediction in there because it's going to foreshadow one of the conversational topics that we have to talk about in the next upcoming section. So, boom, I'll put it up and I'll post it. You said you weren't going to do it, but Nate, you are going to do it if I know anything about you, and I'll tell you why when we get into the next section.
Okay. I mean, this is a fun conversation to have. It's definitely something that I've been debating over the last few weeks, so we can definitely jump into it.
Nice. All right, here we go. Let's take you into the championship chase. Anybody else also in the chat room right now, anybody that has gone only playing common this year, decided to go into limited competitions next year, making that jump? Anybody that's only in limited going into rare? We want to know that stuff in the chat too. So keep the conversation going. And of course, anytime in the off season, the Sorare Discord or the NFTY Sports Discord.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So speaking of NFTY Sports Discord, we've got DJ Local is in second place. He has boxed me out by we both submitted the exact same lineup this week. So up top, I've got Evaldi, Leclerc, Marte, Seager, Garcia, Carroll, and Semien. DJ Local with the exact same lineup with better XP and a 9-point lead. So he is good to go to stay ahead of me. Whoever long balls is, they had a nice lead. We have DJ Local and I have crept our way up. They had about an 80-90 point lead, but they went with a full Texas stack. So with our Carrolls and Martes, we're making a run at first and second. Unfortunately, I can't come in first because of DJ Local having the same lineup. And then Clamp, who's also in the community and was on the show with us. He's got a very small difference with Gallon and Young, while I have Evaldi and Semien. So it'll come down to those 2v2 matchups. Obviously, anybody else could come flying up from below with a different, unique lineup. But just looking at these top spots, that's kind of what it is. And then fifth place is a little bit further back with, again, similar lineup, but couple lower end D-backs in this as well. But again, that's the kind of thing that it takes to make a run forward, right? They weren't going to make a jump with the chalk lineups the way that DJ Local and I played it. So having guys like Moreno, Gurriel, Kelly pay dividends last night. So this has just been, excuse me, really fun to track. And having other people in the community up on the podium and kind of vying for those spots is cool. And yeah, man, for me, it was the week 5 with not only did I have Garcia put up 127, but Alvarez, Seager, Bregman really didn't miss here outside of Verlander and Tucker.
That is a monster week, 353. Where did that land you overall? 8th place overall?
That is a good question. Let's see.
On that week.
What 33rd overall because because there were just so many big performances that week.
Yeah. Very interesting. I was looking as you were talking at your overall number of points because I had mine pulled up on the limited pro right here, which we'll look at next.
Yeah.
What are you sitting at overall points? I don't think you'd be out of the top. You'd be off of the podium by about 25 points, I think, 1154, about 20 points. Okay. So, yeah, not a podium, but you'd be sitting nice for you're about 50 points ahead of what I am right now, and I'm sitting at 16th in Limited Pro. So you'd be right definitely in the top 10 on Limited Pro. So
yeah. It was a tough decision. I think it was after week 2 that I was sitting somewhere around like 18th in All-Star, and I was in like 200th in pro, and I started prioritizing all-star. I knew that the prizes were better in pro, but I went for the long shot of getting one of the signed ball. Like, I've had 2 4th places and a 5th place this year. I'm still chasing that podium. So that's what I decided to go for.
Yeah.
We'll see if I can get it.
What sweeter of a podium could you ask for than the championship chase?
Yeah.
Am I right?
I mean, it'd be a nice cherry
and
on
you've
top.
been so close, man. You deserve it. I hope you pull that through. Wish you could all 3 fit up there. Local, and champ. But out of all those 3, I know local and clamp have been on many a podium this season. So I'm pulling for you.
Yeah, I'm playing with a slightly smaller stack than those 2 guys. So which we'll get into shortly with the graphics.
For sure. Yeah, man. So yeah, great job. Well done there. Yeah, I mean, you absolutely nailed it. Game week 5. I got off to a slow start as well, man. I mean, I don't know if we want to take a look at my podium chase real quick as you kind of prepare for, the graphics that we have on the season long end.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me throw it in there. Here's where I'm at, 16th overall, and I'm not going to show it too much, but I am going to show like the slow start that I got. And what we talked about was basically, it really was kind of like at the very beginning, we had multiple options to put in. I mean, I was playing, limited all-star, or sorry, rare all-star. I was playing limited all-star and then also limited pro. So as the weeks go by, your strategy changes. And I like how, like you said, you're going to put your top priority in where you're doing best. And hopefully the momentum continues to snowball and then you end up on the top. And I think that's what we both did. So I think we both made the right and the smart choices. Really low down here on week 1, but week 2 had a good week. Week 3 is where I really started to break through, man. A $4 buy. I just started stacking at this point, picking my matchups, stacking. Jose Abreu had an incredible week this week, which jolted me. Kept on playing the exact same stack with Seager in the middle instead. And then another good, strong week 5. So, I am in the race now. I think there's a possibility. Don't know if I can get to the, actually I can. There's definitely a possibility for me to the podium. That possibility is through Jonah Heim, Paul Sewald, and Ginkel. So, And if Merrill Kelly can get another start, even better. So,
I would imagine Gurriel is relevant in your climb as well.
You're right. Gurriel could be. Yeah. So I think all these guys, my goal going into this week was not to shoot from, I think I was in 22nd to start the week. I was top 20. I think I was 18th or something like that. I dropped after day 1 of the World Series. So my goal was not to catapult myself all the way to the top of the podium. My goal was to hang within this 4 to 20 range so that I could get a tier 2 rare.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of tried to go with, the relief pitchers as the flex spot. So, and then kind of guys like in the middle of the lineup as opposed to, going for Tavares or whatever. I don't have, unfortunately, an Adolis, and good on you for getting him early on. Like that was one of the rare players that I was scouting on the off season. And I'm kicking myself for not doing it because that's just somebody that you hold for a really long time. And it's been kind of cool to craft too, as I end my rant here, as the postseason went along, I was able to make some sells and gain a lot of ETH too. And then kind of put them into other playoff pieces that I wanted for that next round, where I had excess, and really just kind of continue to craft the gallery for, the long term, like we talk about here all the time. So
yeah,
I thought that was a really cool feature as we kind of went into the postseason here. So
yeah, I did some selling this past week as well. I decided that sitting right on the bubble around, I think I was in 230th on the pro chase. But my secondary lineup that I was going to put in that just wasn't super competitive. Like it was okay. I had Nathaniel Lowe, Christian Walker. I won a Gurriel last week. So there was enough to put in a lineup, but not enough that I felt like I was going to do any better than maybe a tier 4 prize. And you and I talked about it. So I did the same thing. I cashed out on those cards, put some ETH back into my account, and I'll use that this offseason to roll it forward. But on the other side of that, I bought a lot of cards through the playoffs, like Zach Wheeler and Justin Verlander, and bought them at a time where I liked what the price was, and I like holding those cards going into next year. So it's a tough thing, because if you miss the buys, you could be way overpaying during these spikes that we're seeing in the playoffs. But a guy like Wheeler that I grabbed at $14, $15, I was happy with that price to hold him going into next year. Got some utility out of him in the chase, and unfortunately the Phillies didn't roll it forward. But definitely acquired some cards that I'm happy to still have going into next year.
The really cool thing is when you point out that even overpaying for a card in the playoffs with the lower number of participants that were going and the higher number of ETH prizes also, even if you overpaid for a card and it helped you yield, a $5 cash reward, like that's $5 that goes towards your collection, or you could look at it as a, kind of a draw towards that buy that you made going forward. Plus you still get to keep the card. So man, it's just super fun, man.
For sure.
Well done there. I'm excited for the off season because I think trading is going to be a lot more relevant. Like the prices are the prices, right? It's like, like not a lot's going to be selling regardless, right? So if you can put a fair trade together, I think the off season is going to be more fair, especially for those sticking with, more so on the MLB side and not really dabbling into the soccer and the NBA. So it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Want the screen?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Big thanks for making these, man. I took a look at them. These are awesome, man. I'm excited to get into these.
Yeah. So threw together some graphics of how Eric and I did this year. We have both been keeping track of our results week over week. And so we wanted to just kind of take a look back and see what we did, kind of assess, maybe give ourselves a grades, or maybe you guys can give us a grade on how we did. But we'll start real simple here. Common minors. This is a contest that you are only allowed to cash in once, and then you get booted. So this is kind of meant to be a training wheels contest. And it took me until week 20 to cash in this. It took Eric until week 47. We each won a card that was worth about $1. And as you can see, the number of entries went down over time. So there were 25,000 in my contest on June 5th. Your contest on September 11th, there were 14,000. So see that diminishing over time. Combination of people getting no longer allowed to play in it, but also, there's diminishing interest, people shifting back over to soccer. We did see some of the numbers go down over time, but yeah, this is kind of a nothing slide, but figured we would start with the most simple.
That's a fun one, man. It was a fun competition because you got an extra card each week, which, everyone just loves winning little extra rewards, man. And the more I could get, even if it wasn't, yielding that T5 or whatever, that doesn't matter. A buck is a buck. But, to build that other common collection so that we can kind of lead into that next slide, the common, it's called majors. All-star.
Yeah.
Is a pretty cool thing too. I may have gotten, I don't know. I can't say this for certain, but maybe my Mookie bets came from this common minors or something like that from yielding. So
yeah, we were both farming, farming tier 2 commons out of this contest. I was actually unhappy when I accidentally cashed it in game week 20. But yeah, so I'm curious to see if it's going to allow us to play in this again next year, or if we are forever eliminated from it. So we'll see if it's a fresh slate when we go into our new common teams next year.
I'm thinking forever out of it, but
I think so too.
Yeah.
All right. So the premier contest in common is All-Star. Yes, there's majors as well. You and I were both disqualified from that immediately because we were playing limited contests. You can't play majors if you've played a limited contest, but the common only premier contest is common All-Star. It's really the only contest once you get knocked out of those other ones. So I was only able to cash one time this year. And I know that you had a couple cashes in 2022. I just did this as 2023 stats.
Perfect.
So I had 46th place, and you need to come in the top 100 to win a limited card in this. And we were looking at, anywhere in the vicinity of 25K for most of the most of these contests. You can see that the one that you came in 4th on, there were 14,000. This was super early. I want to say you won that in like week 2, maybe. Yeah.
Week 2. Yeah. Yeah.
But it went up fast. But either way, these are far and away the biggest number of people. 4th out of 14,000 is just ridiculous. My best finish was 46th out of 24,000. But yeah, we didn't have as much data on yours. I was able to grab 8 T1 commons, which is a top 500 finish. And 37 times I went tier 2 or above, which is a top 25% finish. So 65% rate on a 25%, top 25% or better. I thought that was a good number to kind of just show what it takes to be growing that common collection. I think tier 2 or better are the cards that you're really looking to get to help field more competitive lineups in common. Overall, this is a long shot. It's a lottery ticket, but the bottom line is that there's a tier 1 limited card getting given out week in and week out, and it's free to play. It's one more lineup to get to set. It's fun. So I yielded practically nothing, but I still had a lot of fun playing it. I don't know what your take was on Common All-Star this year.
Yeah, man, I loved it too. And I actually, not only did I get, I think my 4th place finish, I got like a CJ Crone. I think I could have sold it at the time for like $12 or something like that, which I should have. But I got a Shintaro Fujinami, I believe, as another one where when he got traded to Baltimore, I picked up another $5 on that. Regardless, I think the way that this is the cool thing about Sorare, man. Like you could go and I love your stats, how you kind of, went in and, took the whole body of work. You probably set your best lineup each week. Try to, aim for those top tier cards, build it or whatever. You could also, if you wanted to, I mean, like I started out that way too. And you could also, if you wanted to, this is your highest risk, high rewards. I mean, why not, man? If you want to do a random stack of a team that, just nobody else is going to play and you end up hitting the gold, then maybe you do end up on the podium, Yeah. That can be a strategy that you employ sometimes, but not all the time. It's like, good on the people who played Marcelo Zuna in those 100-point weeks when I was playing Ronald Acuna and, he got half the amount of points. Yeah. It's just, a different, strategy behind it, and you got nothing to lose. It's not like you're whatever, these are all free cards going for the top. The crazier you can get, it works either way. So I love it, man. This is one of the coolest parts about Sorare. It's what gets people to get more invested into the platform and learn how fun this game is to play.
For sure. Yeah. It is the long shot of long shots on the platform. And to your point, if your goal is first place, then playing all the studs really isn't the play, because the chances are there's going to be so many people that field those guys that it's going to come down to the one little player that is different in yours. You're better off just stacking the A's and seeing what happens, because if they hit, nobody else is going to have it. So it is cool to look at the range of strategy that you get from common to limited to rare and further up. It's the bigger the pool, the more unique your lineup needs to be in order to really get to the top onto a podium. So it's different. It's different from contest to contest. And I think that's one of the fun parts about Sorare overall.
Yeah, no doubt. I can't wait. Sorare, private leagues next year. Let's go.
Yes, we need it.
Let's go.
All right. Sorare 2023. This is my little recap here. So just some big picture numbers. Again, we've got super granular data, but for the sake of this hour-long show, kept it to kind of give an idea. Maybe you're somebody that's only played common so far. Maybe you're someone that's only put $100 in a limited, and you're kind of wondering what it takes to be able to be competitive. So we decided to kind of share our numbers, share what kind of money we put into it, what kind of money we've gotten back from it. But yeah, so big picture numbers. My collection cash investment was about $1,000, and it was about mid to late May that I completed that. It was a couple $100 at a time. But by mid to late May, which was game week 14, 15, that's where I would say, okay, the rest of this body of work is really representative. So those first dozen weeks was kind of like test and see. I won a few prizes, still relevant, but that was where it was like, okay, this is my collection. Let's see what it can yield for me. So I had a blended yield, which I'll explain what that means, of about $590. So about a 59% recoup on my collection. And what I mean by blended yield is that anything that was an ETH prize or a prize that I sold, that's a true cash value that we can point to. And then I estimate that the cards that I held to be about $120 value. So guys like Camilo Duvall, who are some of Nathaniel Lowe, Luis Robert, like some Alex Bregman. There were some cards that I decided to hold along the way. Others I sold right away, and then took that cash to put it back into other cards that were the exact cards that I wanted. I had a 37% yield rate on limited contests. So 73 of my 197 limited contests that I entered, I was able to get at least a tier 5 limited.
Ooh.
But then to kind of hone that in a little bit more, 19% of my finishes were inside the top 5%. So 37 of 197. And that had a blended yield of about 515. So you can see that you really got to get in that top, you got to get inside the top 10% to really yield anything of significant value. When you're in the tier 5 area, you're getting cards that are worth somewhere between 50 cents and $1.50. And the later it gets in the season, the harder it becomes to sell. So it's really once you get up to tier 3 and higher, which my estimation is between the top 5 and 7% of finishes. So, and then my three rare prizes you can see on the right, I grabbed a Logan Gilbert, a Sonny Gray, and a Geraldo Perdomo this year. Nice. I was able to grab those 3 rares through these limited contests. I sold the Perdomo. I was able to trade the Logan Gilbert in cash to grab myself a limited Strider. And I just won the Gray a couple weeks ago. So we'll see if I am able to sell that this off season or if it has to wait until early next season. But yeah, this was kind of my recap. I don't know if you've got any thoughts or if you want to jump right into yours next.
Absolutely, man. I got a ton of thoughts. First of all, congrats on an amazing season, man. You crushed it this year. And as far as the Sonny Gray goes, you might as well just keep that to play him in your rare lineups next year. And about this thing, man, like incredible yield rate. I think the funny thing now, man, is that when it comes to yield rate and number of contests, right? You never know. Like I like looking at the total value yielded versus, like the investment in kind of thing, because some of the times you make a really good point. We always shop for a tier 3, right? All the time. That is no secret. But at the same time, like a tier 1 and a tier 4 and a tier 5, maybe you're just starting off, and that's what lets you submit another lineup for the first time. Like early on in the season, I was submitting, maybe 3 lineups instead of 4 unlimited, Same. Right? Or, maybe 2 instead of 3 on the rare. And by yielding one of those, it allows you to have a throw into that lineup. And even though it's probably not going to be a competitive lineup, who the heck knows, man? It's like not all of these lineups are going to be lineups that you're like, okay, great, this is amazing. But I countless number of rewards that I've had. It wasn't my top priority lineup that ended up getting the job done. It was that unique lineup that, hey, I had this guy in there. And, I think back to like one of my more recent ones at the end of the season, right? And I only had one, I think, National League starting pitcher eligible. Brian Hoeing. I won it as a reward. I knew he wasn't even getting a start that week. Like it was going to be a reliever in the starting spot. Mm-hmm. But hey, we might as well set the lineup. Ended up in 11th place in that contest because I think Ozuna did have 100 points that week, right?
Yep.
And Christian Encarnacion Strand, I'll take it, man. A rare. Yep. That is going to be awesome because it's a low yield. It's like a low quantity rookie that is going to be, of high demand going into next season, I think. And that's just the cool part about, setting as many lineups as possible. Another thing too is, the tokens, right? The tokens that you get, the more lineups that you enter going into the token shop, using your swaps, using your boosts, like boosting anything wasn't a thing to me. Like I had so many coins in there that I wasn't probably going to boost anything on rare, but anytime, every time, it wasn't even a second thought. 350 for the boost on the limited. So lots of different things go into it, man. Yeah, you had an incredible season, man. You had some sweet rewards that you yielded. Sometimes I think we learn the the patience versus the sell now. Okay, like I don't know if it's ever going to be possible to get that right, but I think we learned some cool lessons on that where we're going to be able to take those into next year and even be more dangerous, man. So again, that's all I got, but congrats on an awesome season, man. That's part of that right there is why I think you'll be playing some rares next year because, for me, as we'll see on the next slide here, the rares is what really kind of helps the yield pop for me. And it doesn't take a whole lot to do it sometimes, especially in the rare all-star contest where I was mixing in my limited guys that I'm holding anyways. You're going to have a surplus of them at this point. So my biggest yield, which we'll see in a second here, was a Bautista that I sold for like $100, and it was a Blue Jays stack, and Vladdy and Bichette were limited. So that's just kind of all goes into it too, and it's the $25 pop here and there on the T3 rare, or even like a T4 that's a Sir Anthony Dominguez that I was able to sell for $13. That helps pad the numbers a little bit and allows you to kind of just add more lineups in there. So yeah, it's fun. That was my prediction of you going into 2024 is going to hold some rares, maybe slow to start, but definitely see you kind of increasing that. And I think you'll have a blast with it, man. Blast.
Yeah, I mean, you just made a lot of good points, and I think that looking at what your results are really demonstrate what you just said. Which we can run through this here. You put just a little bit more in, 1,500 as your initial investment. You also kind of stopped right around. Thanks, Clamp, appreciate it. Also, kind of stopped your cash flow into it in May and started just letting the collection yield for itself. And while and I'm jumping ahead, but I had a 37% yield rate. You had an 18% yield rate, but you recouped 48% and I recouped 59%. So yes, mine was slightly higher, but to your point, that Bautista alone was like $115 cash out that lent itself to your 725 blended yield. So let me just run through these numbers and we'll keep having this conversation because it's a really interesting one and it was really cool to see this today. So on your $1,500 collection, you had a blended yield of 725, which was just about 50% recoup, and the $450 in sales in ETH combined with the $275 in hold value means that you got some cards that are in your collection. The 18% contest yield rate on 62 of 352. So that's your limited and rare contest combined. You had an 11% rate of finishing inside the top 7%. I went with top 7% on yours instead of the 5% that I did on mine, because that was where, like, I was looking for anything where the prizes were like $2 or $3 or better. And that was kind of where that threshold was, particularly because you were playing in rare, right? Those tier 4, tier 5 rares are more valuable than the limiteds. The limiteds, they're almost like impossible to sell by the time you get halfway through the season. Whereas with rare, you've got contests with less people. It's harder to get the cards. Lower value players have higher value when there's less people competing. So it all gets amplified. So even though your rates of yielding were a little bit lower than mine, your actual yield in terms of the value that you were pulling back was almost in line with mine. And it's directly correlated with playing in those rare contests. And so it definitely opened my eyes to how it's basically that there's a bigger room for error, because just like let's bring the common contest in the equation. I scored 400 points in the common contest last week with Adolis Garcia, and I didn't even come in the top 100 because there were so many people competing in it that you're just competing against so many different lineups. Whereas the average rare contest only has a few hundred people in it. And that means that you don't have to hit that perfect lineup. You can just consistently play solid performing lineups and you're going to yield. And a big part of it is because there's just a smaller group of people that are able to commit the money into buying the rare cards because they're a lot more expensive. That's why there's 25,000 people in common. There's 2,000 people in a limited contest and 500 people in a rare contest. So see you, Jacob. So yeah, you had a 20% limited contest yield rate, a 13% rare contest yield rate. But again, the dollars still added up. So if it makes money, it makes sense.
There we go. Yeah, I love it, man. I had a lot of fun with the rare, and I learned a lot too. What I learned is that it's going to be harder to get the podium, obviously. And it's like if you're competing. So for me, I stopped buying as much rare cards as I want to, but as I do save up, I want the big rare cards that are going to help me, that are going to add to stacks, that are going to be able to be blended with my rare lineups and stuff like that, because it's going to be really hard to compete with the Ronald Acuna, Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, rare pro lineups that are just elite, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you think there's guys out there who are putting together lineups that look like my common all-star lineup in the rare pro. And that's not where I'm living, like it's going to be, it's also interesting too, because, you really, when you're playing both leagues, you have to decide and make that decision. Am I going to use these players towards this rare all-star lineup to try to go for that rare yield, or are they like a little bit better suited for, either I've had weeks where limited AL, limited NL have been my number one priority lineup as opposed to pro and all-star, because, hey, I really like all my best guys are in AL, and I'm shooting for that podium. Let's go. Like the better the score, like the better I'm going to do there. So just so much that goes into it, man. And I think, yeah, totally. I think the more opportunities you give yourself, some of these contests, man, I knew I was going to be like a dead last finish, right? But the lineup was still going in anyways. So, but you're not going to scrap those because you're not going to discount it if you do yield something.
Right.
But it's funny how the numbers play out. And that's just kind of, my take on it and how I saw things working out, man. I'm happy with the season that I had this year too. I think it was a blast. I learned a ton. A lot of the stuff, came, they came in spurts. It's baseball. You're going to hit at a higher average at sometimes through the season versus others.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it was. You just got to keep on getting in there and learning from the lineups that you said, and, learn the lessons that you learn, from not, from kicking yourself or not putting the hot bat in the lineup. Instead of you go with the big guy instead of the hot bat, or the stack instead of the number one, the true bat. I've done that many times and have kicked myself for it. But overall, man, super fun. Great.
Yeah, man. I gotta say congrats to you as well. I think we both had successful seasons here. I think that what is so fun about this, we talk about it time and time again, is that we own these collections. If we want to sell it for cash value tomorrow, we can, but we own these. We've created a machine now that is yielding, and it's feeding the machine, and it gives us cards back. It gives us cash. And now it's up to Sorare to continue growing the community and growing these contests. We want to see, more people entering, more people buying cards. But the way that this should work is that at a certain point, you shouldn't have to put more money into it. It doesn't mean that you might not trickle in, $100 here, $100 there to grab a card that you want. But the reality is that the thing that makes this format of fantasy sports so appealing is that with the free to enter contests, once you build a collection or a gallery that is good enough to yield cards, at a certain point, you can just let it fuel itself, which is what you and I have both been doing since about game week 15. And I think that is just so friggin' cool. Like that is what makes this so appealing to me to keep playing in. So let's let's take a look at some of our top finishes for the year.
Awesome. Yeah, man, it's fun, and I'm excited to do it next year too. I mean, like, look, I plan on putting more money in eventually. Who says to know? Look, it's going to be 5 years from now. We're going to be playing this game, and there's going to be new guys coming up that we're going to want. So we're going to be buying.
Yep.
It's like, it's not going to be. We're not going to be able to ride, the same players forever and ever. So inherently, that comes with part of the game. So
yep, for sure. So just highlighted. So it's worth noting that out of all those, True Yields the fun had along the way. Yeah,
there we go.
Fair, Jim. Fair.
Love the attitude, Jim.
But yeah, so of your rare yields, I know you were entering pro contests, but I don't think that you won a card in a rare pro, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself, it just shows you like it's a really good demonstration of understanding that these contests are not all created equal.
Mm-hmm.
Collectors are putting their best cards in the pro contest because the pro contest has the best prizes.
Yep.
If you are consistently out of the money in pro, then you should be putting your best lineup in All-Star or in AL only or in NL only. And that's the order. It's pro, All-Star, and then AL NL only. That's the hierarchy of prizes, and it's the hierarchy of where people are putting their best lineups. So you're better off trying to yield in a lower contest than getting frustrated week in and week out. And it's up to you to kind of figure out where your collection stands and what you're capable of. It doesn't mean that you can't catch lightning in a bottle, but over the course of 58 contests in a season, I mean, we're going to see on my sheet on the next slide, I had my best common, my best limited pro, and my best limited all-star finish all in the same game week. So you're trying to play it out over time and see what can happen. And you got to be playing in the right contest for you. So I got this little fruit fly flying around me. So your best finishes here, we had limited pro at 11th, all-star at 8th, AL at 21st, and NL at 6th.
Nice.
But definitely your most impressive finish on the year was your rare all-star, 8th place in game week 20. You got that Felix Bautista, who was just at his absolute peak when you won it. A nice $100 plus card to win there on a 262-point performance in rare all-star. Just a really big week from Jose Ramirez, your one limited card. And yeah, this is a nice little resume you got here for 2022.
This is fun to look at, man. Dude, thanks for putting this together. I'm looking at that lineup right now, man. It's funny. Look at it's the Blue Jay stack. You got unique guys in there. Brandon Bell, Dalton Varsho. Like a couple of the guys that I just had as standard people to kind of plug and play throughout the year that I liked overall. Decent week from Will Smith, but Gosman kind of carried that one, and I had like a $5 reliever in there, Pierce Johnson. So
yep.
Man, it's crazy cool. I think going back to what you said, I think I only entered Rare Pro. You got to be in the right contest. I only entered Rare Pro when I didn't have a complete lineup for Rare All-Star, for Rare NL or Rare AL. When I had to blend it, say I didn't have a pitcher at all, or I didn't have an outfielder at all that was going that week, then I blended it just to get something in. That happened occasionally, but yeah, man, I think so too. And I think game week, it was mid-June where they stopped you being able to do blended contests with limited and rare cards for NL and AL. And I won quite a few before that too. So that was really nice. There was a complete strategy shift at that point too. And we'll have to see what happens next year too, because, I know on basketball already, NBA, the yields are a little bit, the prizes are different. They have every right to change the prize pools every single year and make it harder for you to yield based on what they're putting in there as rewards. So that'll be interesting to see going into next year, how that changes and how it changes our strategy, but it's all part of the game and I'm excited for it, man. Thanks for putting this together. These lineups get me hyped, man. I honestly like that limited pro one a little bit more than the rare all-star, but
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the value of the prize, your rare all-star was king, but in terms of the impressive nature of the finish, coming in 11th in that limited pro that's a difficult task. So Yeah, definitely an impressive finish.
One too, and what makes me so happy about this is I bought that Jose Abreu last minute, and it was a $5 per $4. It was $4.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a 61 point boosted it. Putting that in there is what boosted me up to that Josh Naylor, which, you know, maybe I sell him, maybe I keep him for next year. It's awesome.
Yeah, love it. All right, last slide. My top finishes on the year. Like I said, I only play limited, no rare contests this year for me. I was able to pull off a 10th place for pro, a 9th in all-star, and a 4th in both AL and NL. Knife in my chest, missing the podium. I also have a 5th place in NL. So 4th, and 5th, still elusive podium. Need that championship chase to happen. But again, it was a successful season. The limited pro 10th place finish, that Logan Gilbert was worth about $45 at the time. Plus I got $20 in ETH and was able to trade that for a Strider relief pitcher limited card. So that was a big win. But yeah, like I said, this week, game week 46, both the 9th place in All-Star, the 10th place in Pro, and my, I think, 46th place common finish, all happened in the same game week. So that was pretty wild. That was a pretty big game week for me. I grabbed the Bregman, which I held on to because I already had Tucker and Jordan, which all that paid dividends come playoff time. So yeah, it's having that combination of holding the cards that make sense with the strategies that I was deploying, as well as taking a card like Gilbert and using that cash value to get, you know, a massive card like Strider. And then they're a little bit tough to see, but I threw them in there. The 2 4th place finishes down below. But yeah, the 303 points was a Phillies stack, and the 276 points was a Rangers stack. So stacks work, man. They work, but you also can just play best cards, because you can see in the limited pro, it was Olsen, Turner, Schwarber, Seager, Freeman. I just went with my big guns.
Yep.
And the pitching hit that week. So yeah, it was a fun year. Had some good finishes, still hunting that podium.
Man, so much fun, man. Just looking at these, you know, like going through the lineups, man. I just remember, I look back on the season, man, thinking about all the work that we kind of put into crafting these lineups each week, putting them into the Discord, seeing what people thought, you know, strategizing this way versus another way. It's just so much fun to look back on, man. And congrats on these top finishes. 4th, so brutal. I remember following, you know, like it comes to a point where, you know, I think I remember one of the coolest things about this So Rare community is that, like, when I was in, I don't know, 3rd place or something, like trying to hang on to the podium for that rare All-Star, like people will jump in like, oh, I'm watching you, man. I'm pulling for you. We're right there with you, right along the way, man. You get people like rallying behind you because they want to see you, you know, like jolted to the top of the podium, man. It's just been so much good vibes, you know, not only from the So Rare community, but especially the NFTY Sports community, man, and the ones that we've kind of brought in together with Talking Candy and Nifty, you know, over this season, man. It's awesome to see, man. Yeah, talking strategy, getting into it with, you know, crafting of the lineups, this guy versus that guy, and then of course just learning from it, man. You know, there's, you know, I know for a fact, like, remember exactly the one thing that you could have done for those 4th place lineups that would have jolted you to the top. I know that's just how you are. You know, you're probably going to remember those as it goes into next year. If you did, you know, regret any of those decisions, you know, that's going to sit with you, and you're going to see many a podium in 2024. Hopefully one on the champion chase coming up here soon.
Hopefully. Yeah. Looking forward to deploying all of the strategies that we've learned starting game week 1. You know, like I said, it was a couple $100 in the off season, couple $100 after that, and kind of like an accumulation. But at this point, the collection is there. Now it's just playing the game, and I'm looking forward to a full season of that.
Should we wrap it up? I know you got a hard stop at the top of the hour. I want to let you, you know, I'm going to say thank you to everybody once again, but I'll let you sign us off, man, as the co-host, and just kind of send us out to the season here. I guess one question that I have for you and everyone in the chat, you know, everyone right now, I want to thank everyone who stopped in today. Just going through the list: Jim, Jacob, Miguel, Clamp, Miguel, Ace, Paul, for the support all season long, man. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Diop, everybody that was in here, everyone that was in the Discord, thank you all again. Let us know if you're watching this video afterwards, after the fact. I want to know in the comments who your number one buy, who your number one pickup for the off season is going to be. What card you want to have in your gallery going into next year. Man, part of me wants to say Julio. Ronald Acuna would be an answer too, but I've really been eyeing a Julio Rodriguez, and I think he's got some exciting stuff coming up next year, especially the way he was playing towards the end of the season. Who you got?
Man, I've been asking myself that, you know, who are the cards that are going to be undervalued this offseason? There were some great buys that I grabbed this offseason that helped me out all year. The Semien for $25, the Nick Castellanos for like $5. It's going to be fun to see what those players look like. Yeah, I mean, it's tough not to go with the young guys, right? That's the way that this format is valuable. Is Julio, Carroll, even Acuna, like those are guys you're going to get to use for a long time. So it's appealing to go after guys like that. But yeah, man, it's this format is so much fun. It's been a blast doing this show all year. I'm looking forward to figuring out what we're going to do next year, because I know we're going to continue making videos based around Sorare MLB. But yeah, thanks to everybody that tunes in each week. Having the chat going live is always a good time. Seeing what people are talking about, thinking about, all the conversation in Discord, picking people's brains on who to start and what their thoughts are on different strategies. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to having a full season of actually understanding how to use relief pitchers. Maybe.
Yeah, seriously, right? The burning question every single week. All right, Nate, thanks, man. It's been a hell of a season. Maybe we'll have some off-season stuff, share some off-season strategies. I could see us definitely doing that, man. But we'll sign out from here, man. Thanks for sending us out. Everyone, thanks again. Good luck on the championship chase, and enjoy the rest of the World Series.
See you guys later.